AMD just reported earnings. The stock is down in the after hours. We used to call it advanced money destroyer. We can't do that anymore. The stock is up over 107% year to date. It's been an amazing performer for many of you, and I talked about it a lot of times on YouTube. I did my last video when I was at 207, and I said the AMD rally is only getting started. Now it's trading at 250, so I'm going to give you my updated valuation model on AMD and go through the earnings report and talk about it in general. So I really hope you enjoy it as always. Now, in terms of the report, it was really good in my opinion. 36% year on year in terms of revenue growth, absolutely amazing. Operating income is also expanding. Operating margins in general have started to get better. I'm very impressed from the client and gaming segment, which is mainly their AI PC kind of segment. They're seeing a lot of tailwinds from the AI PC, and this is massively expanding the revenue, and they grew revenues 73% year on year. This is insane. Operating margin from 12% to 21%. This is beautiful. In terms of the data center segment, I have to be honest, I was expecting a little bit better, but they did grow 22% year on year. But what's really important isn't really the year on year figure, it's really the quarter on quarter figure, because the company has been decelerating in terms of data center growth. Last quarter, they only grew at 14%, which was largely due to some bans of China shipments and a few other things. Now they're growing at 22%. So it's starting to reaccelerate, and this is the momentum that we want, and we want AMD to keep up the momentum. But with their OpenAI partnership and so many amazing partnerships, they are highly likely to keep the momentum going. And it's the same thing with revenue growth. It was 2%, 8, 17, 24, 35, now it's around 32%, and this is really amazing. And by the way, I'm using fiscal.ai to come up with those charts. If you want to try it out, they give you 2 weeks of free access if you want to use my link down into the description. But AMD has absolutely killed it this quarter. They have a partnership with OpenAI. Yes, they're going to have to give away 10% of the company, but it's not before AMD hits $600 per share, I believe, or something close to 600. So it's not really too bad. And we don't see the benefits of that before the second half of 2026. Same thing with Oracle, 50,000 GPUs, not before Q3 of 2026. IBM and AMD, they also have a partnership with Cohere. They also got a partnership even with the US Department of Energy to announce 2 next generation supercomputer. So the company is firing on all cylinders, and it's starting to become a more serious competitor to Nvidia. Maybe it's nowhere close, but things are starting to get better and the momentum is picking up. Now, the main reason why I believe the stock is down a little bit in the after hours, you could say it's because it's up a lot. This could be a reason, but it's also because of the fourth quarter guidance. It was 25% growth, which is great, but only 4% sequential growth quarter on quarter. I believe the market was expecting a little bit better than 4% quarter on quarter growth, but this is what AMD is guiding for, and normally they have a history of beating on those estimates, so I would not be surprised if they ultimately beat guidance. Now, in terms of the valuation of the company, I'm being honest, guys, it's starting to get extended. I talked about AMD many times. I told you guys the stock was dirt cheap at 2019 times earnings. Now it's trading almost at 50 times earnings, and this is 50 times 2026 earnings, not current earnings, 2026 earnings. Earnings are growing rapidly. They're expected to grow 54% in 2026, 23% in 2027. The company could potentially do better, but again, 49 times earnings is a little bit high on AMD. Looking at the average, it's around 35 times, and sometimes the stock goes as low as 19 or 20 times. And if you're buying it today, you're paying almost 50 times earnings. So this is my valuation model on AMD. I pretty much put in the current estimate for 2025, $3.90 earnings per share, 54% in 2026, and I believe it could be higher because I don't believe this estimate includes OpenAI, as I have seen 54% for the last 6 months, but then they announced the OpenAI partnership and it's still at 54%. So maybe it's going to be a little bit higher. 2026 2027, I put in 25, 25, 25, 25. I believe this is fair. I told you guys the average multiple is 35 times. It's currently at 50 times. So we're going to take a multiple contraction from 50 times to around 35 times earnings. That would equal $513 per share. The current share price is around $250. This is 105% on the upside from here, or 15.5% annual return over the next 5 years, which is why I said in my previous video that the AMD rally is only getting started. The stock is really not expensive at all, but I have to admit that might be the best case scenario. If AMD ever trades at 25 times earnings again, and if you want some margin of safety, you would only get from here around 47% on the upside, and to get it double over the next 5 years, you'd have to buy AMD at $183 per share. So on the best case scenario, I believe, the stock is somewhat fairly valued. I would not be surprised if we get another double over the next 5 years. But if I did not own AMD and I'm looking for a potential entry and I want some margin of safety, I would potentially look for a lower multiple for margin of safety and maybe see if it gets to 183, 185, and I think that would be a better entry on the stock. That was not financial advice. It was just my opinion on AMD, not recommendations. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please press the like button and maybe consider subscribing. So I'll talk to you in another video.